All right, it looks like so. And if it's good with you, we'll kick off.
Sounds good, Bill. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So good afternoon and welcome to the Midwest Tech Bridge Innovation Challenge kickoff that concentrates on AI as applied to small unit maneuvers. I'm Bill Kaiser, the Executive Vice President for Science and Technology at the Indiana Innovation Institute, and I'll be your moderator for today's discussion. So first of all, thanks for sharing a couple of your very valuable hours with us today. I mean, I assure that we value your time, appreciate your attendance, and are committed to making this event as informative, engaging as possible. You know, I personally find these events very exciting for 20 years and recognizes the difficult processes that you have to go through to actually move your idea into an end product. You know, it's really, really difficult. But fortunately, you know, a lot of other people have recognized this difficulty and are starting to institute enterprises that really simplify this process. And in the Midwest Tech Bridge, I think our team is making tremendous strides to drive innovation, simplify communication and collaboration processes, and most importantly, expedite development. And today's event is really part of these new processes and efforts. So IN3, the Indiana Innovation Institute, is proud to be a partnership intermediary for the Midwest Tech Bridge and work alongside the individuals you're going to hear from today, in particular Ann Fields, Andy Bruff, and Bruce Moore, as the rest of the team at NSWC Crane and the SOFT community. And while he's not an official speaker, I think we really also need to give special thanks to Dan Cable for his effort in helping stand up this event. So just a little bit about IN3, because I'm sure a lot of you aren't even familiar with IN3. You know, we're a 3-year-old organization that works with academia, industry, and government to basically create a hub of national security innovation and help solve critical defense priorities. And we're building an ecosystem of economic growth that's speeding new investment, advancing partnerships, jobs, and the talent pool, at first in Indiana. You know, the governor, the major university presidents, and local CEOs are on our board. So a really deep commitment to the region. But in addition to the region, we all different means. I mean, this includes convening research and business teams to solve emerging technical challenges for the Department of Defense. We expect these discoveries will impact a range of critical industries, including medical, transportation, and most certainly the DoD. So since our mission is to accelerate technology and product development by partnering with innovators and academia, industry, and government, we apply our expertise where we can. And you know, the goal is to really drive that innovation. We're still a somewhat small team. There's actually only 12 of us at the moment. But when we sat down and we looked, we literally have hundreds of years of experience in the DoD and with product development. So the IN3 team understands the challenges that are facing people, particularly non-DoD, and we're fully committed to lending this expertise to TechBridge and our partners so that we can expedite technologies and solve some of the challenges facing the nation. So we have a full agenda, and we want to get to the programmatics of this event very quickly. Before we get started, we want to look at a couple of housekeeping items. First of all, we'd appreciate it if you all muted your mic. I think we've all been on this virtual environment long enough that we know the challenges of hot mics and noise. So we just appreciate it if you keep your mics muted. One of the most important things from a housekeeping standpoint is we want to make sure this is really an engaging event. So we encourage questions. There's a chat function. Just put up your questions. We're going to save them to the end. We'll correlate them. We'll make the answers efficient and effective as possible. If for some reason we don't get to them, we run out of time, or we run into technical issues, we'll answer them by email. But that's a really important part of this. We want to make sure that your questions are answered, you understand the program, and you'll be able to get answers. So, let me reiterate again, we thank you all for joining us today, spending time thinking about technology that affects our national security. This is a pretty big event. We had over 200 registrants. I see now that there's 130 people in the meeting. I think that's remarkable for a virtual event. I hope that it all turns out to be worth your time. Today, from our speaker standpoint, Ann Fields, who serves as a regional director for the Midwest Tech Bridge, is going to provide an overview of the program and officially kick off this innovation challenge. And before I hand it over to Ann, let me say we are incredibly fortunate to have her leading the Midwest Tech Bridge effort. I mean, she's really dedicated to the mission. She brings a lot of energy and effort, and she's engaging. She's easy to work with, and those traits really go a long way whenever when we're trying to from this organization. So, Ann, the floor is yours to talk about Tech Bridge and the Innovation Challenge kickoff.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Bill. That was a very, very nice introduction. I appreciate it very much. Same to you. So welcome, everyone. I can't thank you all enough for spending a few hours this afternoon with us. I see some familiar names here, so I'm pretty excited to get a little bit of a battle rhythm for the NavalX Midwest Tech Bridge. So again, thank you for your participation, and we look forward to many more of these events going forward. So just one more housekeeping note I wanted to mention. Something that we've been doing with the Tech Bridge is recording all of the events. We're still working on the back end with some technology struggles that we've had, but the idea is to be able to record all of these events so that anyone who has to hop off early, anyone who wants to watch the event again to make sure they got all the information, or of course anyone who wasn't able to participate can hop on one of those links and see what was said here today. So be looking forward to that, and just know that anything that happens here today is recorded and will be widely disseminated. So just keep that in mind. So again, my name is Ann Fields. I'm the NavalX Midwest Tech Bridge Director. I took this position in early February, so still kind of getting my feet wet, getting this figured out. But super excited to be here, super thankful to work with IN3 and the Technology Transfer and CTO office at NSWC Crane. I'm honored to be a part of this awesome ecosystem. So I know a lot of the folks on this call have heard kind of the NavalX Midwest Tech Bridge overview before. So in order to kind of be cognizant of the time that we have allotted, I just want to do a little bit of a different thing and go kind of glaze over some of that and just talk briefly about what the NavalX Midwest Tech Bridge is focused on and how this event kind of dovetails into that, and then turn it over to Andy Bruff just as quick as I can. So Derek, if you could move to the next slide, please. So as you guys know, there are now 12 tech bridges, and the Midwest one is the one that's kind of out there in the middle by itself in Indiana. One thing I want to mention here, you guys will hear me talk a little bit further into this presentation about the internal and external engagement focus for the Midwest Tech Bridge. And I just want everyone to be aware that while we have some focus areas in the Midwest area, or the Midwest region, excuse me, a lot of these other tech bridges have focus areas elsewhere. So just because something doesn't necessarily align with what we're doing, that may align very nicely with something some of these other tech bridges are doing. And our team is very much engaged with these other folks. So we're working on making this a very connected network of networks. So from my perspective, any kind of innovation is something we want to hear about. So yeah, I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. Next slide, please. So these are the 10 areas that the Midwest Tech Bridge is focused on. A lot of these things align with what NSWC Crane is doing, but just to read them out for the folks who are called into the telephone call: power, energy, and battery solutions, modeling and simulation, fiber optics, AI, data analytics, unmanned aerial systems, cybersecurity, command and control, hypersonics, and microelectronics. So as you guys know, today we're focused really on the artificial intelligence portion of this, but as we move a little bit further, there will be more events focused in the 9 other areas aligned to the Midwest Tech Bridge. Next slide, please. So these 4 bullets here are the Midwest Tech Bridge success factors. You guys have likely heard me talk about them before, so I won't go too deep into it. But just to kind of recap, the first thing that we're really trying to do is expand and engage the internal and external network. So what that means is the external network are the folks like Bill and the IN3 team, the Purdue MEP, groups like Ensign, other folks, pretty much anyone who's outside of the Crane gate. We really want them to be part of that connective tissue for the network of networks that we've mentioned earlier. So we will be communicating a lot through those groups. The Midwest Tech Bridge right now doesn't have its own networking list or CRM tool currently, but we're working towards that. So we very much leverage those external groups to kind of get our message across and communicate events like these. The internal network is something that we're working on as well. That's the folks inside the Crane gate. So that's the folks who, the forward-leaning people who are really concerned about innovation and getting the war fighters a decisive advantage. So we are working on engaging those teams more to make sure that we understand what their problems are, to try to hopefully hook them up with solution providers, such as many of these people on the call today. We're also looking at doing a collaboration space eventually. That'll be a place where we can have events like these, a lower barrier to entry space where we can come together as an ecosystem and work on some of these problems together. The next two bullets here, we'll move on to the next slide, but this first one is championing the NavalX innovation pipeline, and we're going to watch a short video about that one. So Derek, if you'd move to the next slide, we'll watch that video. Oh, Derek, looks like we don't have any volume.
Product delivered.
Oh, there we go.
That's why we created NavalX Tech Bridges, to help get your ideas and technology directly to those in the Navy and Marine Corps who need it, fast. Our Tech Bridge network is deeply embedded with sailors, Marines, academia, and innovators in the private sector. That means we are uniquely positioned to connect problem owners with solution providers, and to drive their products where they need to go. We've mapped our vast network of naval programs across the innovation pipeline, so you always know where you are, where you need to go, and who will help get you there. That way, you can better manage your resources and chart the most effective course to delivering your product. For more information, visit our website and let us know what you need. Your next opportunity is closer than you think.
Thanks, Derek. So that just gives a quick description of the innovation pipeline through NavalX. So one of the success factors that the Midwest Tech Bridge has is helping people kind of navigate that system, navigate that pipeline, to help people understand where they're at, where they need to get, where they're going, and hopefully hook up those problem owners with solution providers and vice versa. So that's very much something that we're working on and here to help with. So the last success factor that I talked about was a widely communicated and targeted calendar of events. And so if we'll go on to the next slide, this just illustrates what we're doing across the year with regards to the types of events that we're holding. So very much the point of these events is to have those intentional collisions, to have people understand how to do business with us and the DoD, the DON. So we hope that you guys will participate. We've had great participation so far. So just to speak briefly on these, the small business events are really just sort of informal meetings with the small business deputy, the technology transfer folks, myself, sometimes members from the CTO office at Crane, to answer all the questions that you guys might have. Sometimes we go from just presentations to a panel. So we have another one of those coming up the end of this month, which is the 24th. The technology demonstrations are opportunities for solution providers to showcase their capabilities to the problem owners. So the external network potentially showcasing their information to the internal network. And then finally, the innovation challenge is what what we are working on today. So this is our very first innovation challenge, and very much appreciate you guys participating. So the idea here is, as we'll go through this, and Andy and Bruce will talk more specifics about the innovation challenge itself, but the idea here is giving our ecosystem an opportunity to inform future events, so future potential prize challenges. The idea here is really a reverse pitch. So it's really us trying to illustrate a problem that we have have, and hoping that some of the members of our ecosystem can help us solve that problem. So next slide, please, Derek. So I think that brings me to the end of my presentation. I'm really, again, thankful that you guys are here and very much appreciate your participation. This, again, will be available via video afterwards. So I hope you guys ask all the questions that you have, and hopefully we can help get them answered for you. Thanks again for participating. Bill, back to you.
All right, Ann, thanks so much. I think that was a great description of TechBridge. It's an exciting effort. I think there's, the tremendous amount of potential and opportunity that's going to come out of this. So you set the stage really well. So next we'll hear from Andy Bruff, who serves as the Expeditionary Warfare Lead for the NAVC Warfare Centers. And then Andy's going to hand off to Bruce Morris, who serves as the Innovation Director for Naval Special Warfare. So this is really where the information on the challenge comes from, and I think bring the perspectives from you two. So take it away, Andy.
All right, thanks, Bill. And before I get started, I wanted to thank Ann and the TechBridge for helping coordinate this, as well as all of you in the IN3 team that have supported us here with helping get this event set up and coordinated. It's a very important topic we have today, focusing on artificial intelligence and figuring out how to incorporate that into some of our warfighting capabilities as we move forward. If you go to the next slide. So this slide, and I'm not seeing it yet, so I'm hesitating, but yeah, there we go. So this slide, as most folks on this call probably are aware, our nation and the leadership of our nation have identified artificial intelligence as a critical capability that we need to develop for the defense of our nation. And that goes everything from the president to Congress to the DoD leadership at large. These three kind of summarize three of some of the high-level guidance and strategy documents that have just been signed out in roughly the last year. The top one, for those of you who can't see this slide deck, I'll just kind of talk through some of it. So the top one is the executive order on maintaining American leadership in our artificial intelligence. It came out February 11th of 2019. The second one is the National Security Commission on Artificial Intelligence. And some of the focuses, they have a report that they provided. This was a commission that was stood up for Congress. So the report highlighted from November the 4th, 2019. And then the third document is OUSD-R&E, which stands for Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering Artificial Intelligence Roadmap, which was released May 22nd of 2020. And so if you look at these three, I'm not going to read some of the summaries there, but if you look at those three documents, and by the way, all three of those documents are available to everyone online. Should be able to find those pretty easily by Googling those. So if you look at those three documents, you would find some common themes that have come out of all of those documents. One is government needs to partner with industry and academia to collaborate on developing these capabilities. Another common theme would be that we need to develop the workforce across both government, industry, and academia to get after the AI research that's needed to develop these capabilities. Another theme is that we need to develop simulation environments and data management processes to help scale the AI research that's going on. That's going to be critical.
All right.
And
yeah, no problem. I'd like that.
Okay, we've got somebody with a hot mic. If we can shut that down.
Andy, I think they might have muted everyone, which muted you. So we're not hearing you at the moment. There we go.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm back. Am I back up now?
Over, you're good.
Okay. Okay, so I think probably where that pinged was just to be saying that the last capability common theme was developing capabilities for key mission sets. So if we move to the next slide now. So what we are focusing on with this effort is Crane as part of the Naval R&D establishment is an independent government engineering activity that, so part of our focus is to partner with academia and industry to help align the research efforts that are going on there to some of these challenges as we're going to describe as we go through this. This is going to be a multi-year effort. So we will be working across several years to build the capability sets. One of the things we'll be focusing on is building the simulation environment and working with that simulation environment to help facilitate some of the research. And then eventually we will get to the point of being able to actually take real physical systems and do demonstrations in live scenarios. Our focus for this is on the expeditionary warfighter. We've already been working with several of our partners, so that would include SOCOM, SOF T&L, S&T organization, Brian Sisko. We've also been working with Naval Special Warfare Command. We've also been working with the Marine Corps Special Operations Command. So we've been working with those folks. That's been going on over the course really of the last year with we've kind of been leveraging off of several different events. Innovation Foundry that was hosted by SOCOM, SOF T&L, S&T organization. We had a event at Crane working with SOCOM, NSW, and MARSOC, focused on refining the concepts that came out of the Innovation Foundry. And then moving on after this date, SOF AT&L, SOCOM, S&T organization has a AI Sum demo on July the 2nd. So this is an ongoing effort. It's a campaign. And so, this innovation challenge that we're in today is just the first step or another step. And as I said, the focus is on the expeditionary warfighter. Those are our partners, SOCOM, Naval Special Warfare, MARSOC. And today I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Bruce Morris. He's the Deputy N9 for Navy Special Warfare Command. And he's going to walk through some of the operational context and some of the technical challenges. So over to you, Bruce.
Thank you, Andy, and good morning and good afternoon to everyone. And thank you for joining us today. As Andy stated, my name is Bruce Morris, and I work at the Naval Special Warfare Command as the Deputy N9, and that's our Future Concepts and Innovation Department. I'd like to start by thanking NavalX, Midwest Tech Bridge, and the Indiana Innovation Institute for their efforts today in bringing us together and hosting the Artificial Intelligence for Small Unit Maneuver event. So the N9 at Naval Special Warfare is a newer organization established by Vice Admiral Szymanski. He's my former boss, the former Naval Special Warfare Commander, and now currently is the Deputy Commander at U.S. Special Operations Command, also known as SOCOM. And our department's been expanded by the current NSW Commander, Rear Admiral Green, with a charter of exploring and developing transformational concepts in the areas of technology, process, and organization. Today we'll be focused on the technology portion. And with regards to technology, the N9's goal is not to establish a list of technologies, but instead to converge multiple emerging technologies from the information and intelligence ages to develop transformational concepts for use in the future operating environments in order to inform the rest of NSW and our service partners. So today, I would like to take one of our newer concepts known as Artificial Intelligence for Small Unit Maneuver, or AI Sum, Through a series of SOCOM S&T futures and NAVC Crane design thinking events, we were able to reimagine the warfighting function of maneuver in a future operating environment. That future operating environment that presents new challenges to us, such as dense urban clutter, contested communications, and degraded or denied GPS. To help you better visualize the challenge and the concept solution, I would like to show an 8-minute AI sum concept video. Derek, if you could start the video, please.
Hey, Derek, we're not seeing the video, I don't think. I think we might need to change back to that slide.
Now do you see it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No problem.
If you could start it back from the beginning, perfect. Thanks.
No problem.
We're not hearing it as well.
Operating in two-dimensional battle.
Very sorry about that.
In the past 20 years, Special Operations Forces, SOF, have perfected the combination of its tactical maneuver elements, small arms precision fire, with overhead manned and remotely piloted airborne ISR and its aerial delivered strike to precisely find, fix, and finish networked threats with great precision. These non-state actors operating in two-dimensional battle space, namely rural and urban sprawl, had little to no access to electronic warfare (EW) tools, in turn permitting our airborne intelligence and fires platforms freedom of movement, as well as the uncontested use of the electromagnetic spectrum. After nearly 2 decades of sustained operations against violent extremist organizations, we have become masters of the two-dimensional threat environment. In today's emerging environments, adversaries will attempt to contest all domains with advanced technology and take advantage of the complex and congested three-dimensional battle space to reduce effectiveness of soft tactical maneuver elements, ISR, and precision fires. The inability to maintain continuous airborne ISR feeds and key communications and navigation bands of the electromagnetic spectrum in these dense urban clutter and subterranean environments will leave our tactical maneuver elements challenged. What if SOF could scale the capacity of its current precision capabilities into these types of threat environments? Artificial intelligence for small unit maneuver, AI sum, combines soft tactical maneuver elements with robotic autonomous systems, or RAS, to create a low-risk human-machine maneuver element that is optimized to gain, maintain, and extend access in contested, complex, and congested environments, providing decision advantage and the precise application of effects.
SATCOM Alpha 29 on target acquiring data. Perimeter and target AO, stand by. Target data process complete, loading virtual rehearsal phase line 1. Launching Docker 1-1 with 4x4 Vulture.
This is Thunder 1-7, currently located on ramp 3 with 4 packs on board. We're ready for departure. Requesting runway 18.
You are clear for takeoff. Package away, no issues.
Wheels up and 2 mics.
Chalk 1.
10 mics. 1 mic. Starboard wheels down, proceed to structure 101. Ramp 1 and terminal 101, proceeding to jackpot.
Red 2 internal 101, proceeding to level 3. Hands up, hands up. Le Mans Amis.
Target secured. SSC complete. Commencing exfil. Jackpot confirmed. Final slant on target 1003 KIA. GFC intent to bring 1 male off target.
Package secured, feet wet.
Let's rewind the scenario and examine why mission planners chose AI Sum for this op and how we arrived at this successful outcome. Satellite imagery provided the initial data used to generate a 3-dimensional terrain map of the AOI, allowing mission planners, operators, and drones to plan, train, and rehearse within the simulated environment in order to develop and optimize mission-specific tactics, techniques, and procedures. An insertion point was chosen to deploy a long-range VTOL UAS carrying 4 smaller AI-enabled reconnaissance quadcopters. All drones utilize the satellite-derived 3D maps to navigate to suspected target site without the need for GPS. Scout drones recon the AOI and detect WMD and identify access points to the subterranean tunnel system. The AI-enabled drones are equipped with a variety of path planning and obstacle avoidance systems, and the dual-use sensors can also be used for object detection and threat recognition. Multiple payload types include radiation sensors and SIGINT. Drones can distinguish civilians from combatants, detect threats, and register facial features for later correlation. The doghouse, a 20 or 40-foot container loaded with drone assaulters, can deploy multiple drones or swarm. It can receive data from the swarm via its 5G network, provide additional processing, and perform data relay to C2 in real time, informing the Tactical Operations Center's planning and preparation. One drone sets up outside the subterranean access point and emits an encrypted targeting beacon. Breach is made via kinetic effects from a nearby ship. Then, drone swarm moves quickly through the sub-T environment, scanning and mapping. They use radiation sensors to precisely locate fissile material, and their onboard intelligence recognize equipment and materials characteristic of WMD production and handling. The fused data is streamed to soft ATACs. Once complete, the swarm exits the subterranean facility and returns to the doghouse for later retrieval, while the assault teams exfils. We have not envisioned all the operational use cases for this concept, but there are many. The convergence of warfighting capabilities such as maritime interdiction operations, or MIO, support to partner forces, SR and DA in dense urban clutter, advances in artificial intelligence and robotic autonomous systems can be leveraged by SOF today to create human-machine teams far more capable than those of the past 20 years. This AI for small unit maneuver will bring greater mass, precision, certainty, speed, and range to soft tactical maneuver elements against increasingly capable adversaries in increasingly more complex environments. We can no longer iteratively evolve our current systems within the DoD if we are to compete with the technological investment of our peer adversaries to maintain dominance in the battle space. The AI sum concept will enable SOF leaders to visualize tactical maneuver, intelligence, fires, and mission command in fundamentally new ways in order to balance the demands of both countering VEO and great power competition. We must think creatively, beyond the physical domain, and redefine the X. This is what the nation expects from special operations.
Okay, thanks, Derek. Hey, as everyone saw in the movie, artificial intelligence for small unit maneuver is the convergence of AI and robotics combined with soft operational concepts. And the goal is to create dilemmas, disruption, and overmatch for adversaries across the competition continuum. If you could go to the next slide, Derek. The current slide, entitled AI Sum Concept, summarizes 3 areas: the challenges, the concept itself, and conceptually what we believe to be the way ahead. And that's why we're on with you today. We'd like to have you participate in our way ahead. But I'll back up just to cover the area one more time. So initially, or what our challenges are today are the emerging environment, which is now a contested land and littoral domain. That's what it has been historically, but now it's all domains: sea, air, land, and cyber. We had been historically operating in mostly what I'll call a geographic 2-dimensional environment, which is rural urban sprawl, but is now evolving into 3 dimensions, what we call dense urban clutter, subterranean, surface, and undersea. And at one point where we had assured electronic or electromagnetic spectrum is now shifting to denied and degraded EMS, which impacts precision, navigation, timing, communications, and command and control. So again, the concept is the convergence of artificial intelligence, robotic autonomous systems, and soft warfighting functions of maneuver, intelligence, and effects. It allows us to create tactical man-machine elements optimized to gain, maintain, and extend access in contested, complex, and congested environments. And it also provides decision advantage in the precise application of effects across the conflict continuum. Conceptually, where we believe the direction to go is to utilize robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, miniaturized sensors, cloud and edge computing, secure autonomous communication networks. In other words, we'll take advantage of all the Moore's law and swap that is occurring in the commercial marketplace, converge those technologies, and then bring them in and create human-machine teams capable, again, of the greater mass, speed, precision, access, certainty, and range. What I'd like to do now, Derek, is go to the next slide. And this is my last slide. And this is what we call the AI sum development areas, or what I've sometimes also call the wheel slide. And it's designed to capture the 6 larger development areas of AI sum and the corresponding 32 sub-elements. And as you can see in the slide, it kind of goes, it has numbers around the outside from 12 o'clock to 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and back around to 12. And each of those 2-hour chunks, starting at the top at 12 o'clock and out to 2 o'clock, you can see is an important important category in the development of autonomous mobile robotics, and they're partnering with us on the battlefield. So there's the maneuver autonomy section. The maneuver autonomy section, as you can see, is broken down into 6 additional sub-elements, which are pretty standard in the world of autonomous mobile robotics. And really that sector is designed to create intelligence of the robot. The second section from 2 to 4 o'clock, what we call software and infrastructure, is really that section that helps with the speed of the robot learning, and in particular in those 2 sub-elements of simulation and data management. In the third section from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, that bluish color, that's the hardware section, and that's where the velocity of the robot benefits when you start talking about increased compute onboard device, what sensing modalities or perception we utilize, and vehicle type, Communications is important when we want to go from an individual robot out to small teams to large teams. And then lastly, the interfaces, or the what I'll call human-robot interfaces, which is hugely important. And that's why I gave it an entire wedge over there from the 8 to 10 o'clock, that orange wedge. But before we go there, there's an important piece between 6 and 8 o'clock, and that's the integrate, manufacture, and test. So we're not talking about individual robots in the numbers of tens, but we're talking potentially thousands, tens of thousands in the future. And so that section is very important between 6 and 8 to help in the scaling of robot capability and capacity, and to assure product assurance. So when we turn the robots on, they all actually turn on and are ready to go on mission. And as I alluded to earlier, the 8 to 10 o'clock position is that human-robot interface. You can see there's several areas that we've been investigating up until now, from manual control all the way through to natural language processing or speech. And that's really, initially, that'll be the way that we'll be able to help the robot overcome its current capability limitations, as the maneuver autonomy is in its infancy. But as it gets more and more resilient and robust, then it's going to be more about robot knowledge transfer back to us and having a tool to do that. And then lastly, to operationalize AI Sum, we start to get into the train and equip portion from 10 to 12 o'clock. And those are some of the areas, in particular, tactics, techniques, and procedure development. So I think the areas that we're interested in focusing on in this white paper submission is from the 12 to 4 o'clock position. And when you think about it, the DoD has already invested heavily in robotics. It's just we haven't put a lot of effort into the 12 to 4 o'clock position. We start with the hardware, and then we utilize humans to do the operation of the robot. The issue there is that it's becoming, if we want to put more robots on the battlefield, it's becoming cost prohibitive to train that many people and set aside that many people for that particular mission. So the goal here is to take advantage of these frontier emerging technologies that can reduce the burden on the warfighter and allow the robots to work cooperatively with the people. And so our focus, as you see, is between the 12 and 4 o'clock position. We've got robots. What we don't have is the intelligence of the robot. And so that's the focus areas. At that point, what I'll do is stop there and hand it back over to Andy to talk about the white papers.
All right, thanks, Bruce. So this next slide shows those two segments that Bruce just went through, from 12 to 2 and 2 to 4. So he just went through that first piece, the maneuver autonomy category. So I'm not going to go through that and repeat anything he just said. The only thing I'll add to the second piece, which is the software and infrastructure piece. So for us, from a simulation standpoint, we've been working on trying to develop some simulation environments. We've worked with various simulation packages that are out there, VBS3, VTMAC, etc. We recognize that many of those packages require a license, and to keep the barriers to entry low and reduce the cost of folks being able to participate in these kinds of efforts, we're also investigating other simulation engines that are available, like Microsoft AirSim, and there's AFRL also has one called Amaze, so some government freeware. So we're investigating the ability to be able to port the simulation environments into some of those other tool sets that would be free to allow more people to be involved and engaged. So that's also going on. So for the white paper, we have two different areas that we're asking for white papers from. The first area would be aligned to the 12 to 2 o'clock position, the maneuver autonomy portion. The second set would be aligned to that 2 to 4 position on Bruce's wheel chart, or the bottom half of this PowerPoint slide, software and infrastructure. So things aligned to that simulation and data management. If you go to the next slide, I think that's my last slide, or no, I'm sorry, I've got one more after this. So just wanted to touch on, this is a multi-year effort, and we have several phases that we've identified here. We're really doing today phase 1. So we've outlined the operational framework, identified some specific challenges, and are requesting white papers. Phase 2, we are working already, and these things kind of overlap. We're working some of these things in parallel. We are already working on the virtual environment. We hope to create a baseline development environment and identify some design reference missions that we would utilize as we move forward for the events as we move into phase 3 and 4. Phase 3 would be, we would run some form of a challenge event, like for instance, a prize challenge event, where we would start off with a simulated environment, have white papers, do a simulation environment, and then eventually move to phase 4, where we would not only utilize the virtual environment to work through the development of the capabilities, but then also eventually get to a real world environment. So that's kind of the phasing approach, what we're trying to do overall. And if you go to the next slide, then this is just some information on the white papers. So, and it's got the due date and the POC at the bottom. So again, 2 different areas for the white papers. One would be the stuff focused on things from the 12 to 2 o'clock position. The second part would be white papers focused on the things from the 2 to 4 position on the wheel. The white papers should be sent to Kelly Stevens, and you see her email address there. The due date is the 10th of July. By the way, that is different than what was originally put in the original invitation. A reason for the change for the slip is simply because we slipped the date by a week of this specific virtual event. So we pushed the due date for the white papers out a little over a week as well, to give you all time to submit those back. With that, I am done. I will turn it back over to Bill.
Well, big thanks to Andy and Bruce for this presentation and a great overview of what's required. And you watch that video, and if you can't help but get excited about the applications and the opportunity to really drive innovation and technology, it's remarkable. And we know that there's certainly challenges to get there, but I feel certain there are people sitting on this call whose gears are already churning and have expertise that are going to drive back into this. So the key is to become engaged, submit these white papers, and drive some excitement and innovation into this process. So, like we said, we're collecting questions throughout these presentations. I only at the moment see a couple. So let me read these and see if we can get some answers out of our presenters on these. So the first one is, you get it pulled up here. Says this seems to not just pertain to NAVSOC and MARSOC, but also to RSOC as well. And it says, SOCOM being joint, can we assume these apply to the Army side as well?
Bruce, I'll throw my 2 cents out. So thanks, Coop, for the question. I would tell you that we are working with PEO Soft Warrior and the program offices there, and we will be engaging, have already started to engage the Army side, and we will be continuing to engage them. I think you're absolutely right. It does apply to them. It was just something that from the Innovation Foundry we started. It was the original Innovation Foundry where we started working some of this, at least from my perspective, from Crane. We were, that Innovation Foundry was sponsored by Navy Special Warfare. So, and then the next one was MARSOC. All of this work kind of promulgated out of that. But I think you're absolutely right. It does apply to them. So Bruce, if you want to add anything, I'll be happy to let you chime in.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Absolutely. So this does span all of soft components to include AppSoc. At the same time, I think Big Service would be interested in the development of this from a standpoint of development of maneuver autonomy stacks, as those tend to be very portable from one platform size to platform type. So there is some interest, definitely some interest from even Big Navy to look at how we might go about optimizing the development initially of the maneuver autonomy stack so they can be picked up and moved around again across other platform sizes and platform types. Over.
All right. So our next question, and hopefully I get this name right, Joe Neidig asks, is there a template for the white paper? Does it need to include cost and timeline? And I think that's one of our last slides, but I'll let the panelists answer that question.
Yeah, we do not have a template. We don't want to confine you to a specific template or format. If you need funding to move forward for something specifically, absolutely you would need to identify what your funding requirements are and what your timelines are for, what the deliverables would be, what you would be doing. Over.
So the next question comes from Dana Hudson. And the question is, what policy challenges does AI sum face now and in the future as fielding and development is furthered?
Bruce, you want to take a crack at that?
Sure. So if you look at what we're presenting or how we're applying the artificial intelligence, it's to the maneuver warfighting function. And so what you'll see there is that with regards to policy, that's not something that's being considered in a negative light. Again, it's just taking, today our robots, and I'm sure a lot of you already know this, they already have some forms of what I'll call low-level autonomy when they do waypoint path planning and things like that. What we're trying to do, but that still requires a pilot in case something local happens and we have to maneuver the robot out of the direction of some unforeseen obstacle. So the goal here is to be able to be hands-free of the platform. And a natural extension of going from point A to point B in complex environments without running into anything, utilizing perception or that sort of equipment, let's say cameras, day cameras, to help the robot see while it's processing that, is the natural extension is that same data that the robot's using to then take and get semantic understanding of the environment and then move into mapping and path planning and then controls after that, is that same video feed can be used for ISR. And so this is the type of ISR we haven't had to this point. And so as you noticed in the video, most of our ISR platforms tend to be airborne and they fly in orbits, and they are very, very good at helping us understand the exterior environment, but they do struggle to give us much knowledge on what's interior or subterranean. And so the value, again, of these particular platforms is their ability to go interior. But the problem with interior platforms, as you know, is now we're GPS denied, whether there's a signal outside or not. And so that's from a policy perspective, we're just taking maneuver, which today is done mostly by people entering into dangerous, unknown environments that are highly dynamic, moving it over to the robot to be able to handle that problem set, both exterior and interior, and feed us real-time, street-level, I like to call it, intelligence, as opposed to bird's eye view intelligence of the exterior only. Over.
Great, thank you. I have a question here that says, is there a definition of what is a swarm? How many drones? What are the behavioral expectations?
So this is Andy. I would tell you that yes, there are definitions out there for what constitutes a swarm. I'm not sure there's one that has been defined that is approved for across the entire DoD. I know there's different components within the DoD that I think have all developed their own definitions probably. But in general, as we move forward, we're not talking about 2. We're talking about, as Bruce kind of mentioned earlier, probably thousands of drones as we're moving forward. So, that's, not super specific, but that's definitely where we're moving from behavioral expectations. Not sure I know what you mean by that portion of that question. So, Bruce, I'll let you chime in as well.
Okay, great. Thanks, Andy. So with regards to swarms, yes, there are definitions out there. I think there's some in academia, and I know that if there are some also in DoD instruction. But in this case, I want to move away from those definitions so we don't get bogged down in what I'll call lexicon, but instead get a sense of operationalizing a capability for the warfighter's use in multiple domain types. And so what we want to evolve to, and it'll be an incremental involvement, is starting with one platform or robot and then working our way up. And so we would like the robots initially to have cooperative behavior. And so if initially what we're attempting to do is do exploration of what I'll call interior, highly dynamic, unstructured, with no prior knowledge, then that's an exploration capability of a robot. We would like to do that faster, though. So one robot's going to be able to cover a certain distance in a certain amount of time. But as you know, the speed is key for us to be able to take advantage of what the adversary, if you will, to create dilemmas and disruption for the adversary. And so the idea would be to introduce more robots. So initially, the focus would be on the ability to do not just local obstacle maps, but at the same time create what's known as a global map. So that means that each individual robot is not only flying along locally to avoid obstacles, but at the same time collect the information that it's already processed and keep that on board, and at the same time be able to share that real time with other robots in the team, and then be able to stitch together a coherent map for all the robots to understand what the other ones are currently doing without any aliasing between the individual maps. And so that's not an easy problem, but it's certainly the way we want to evolve. So I think it's a crawl, walk, run. We'll start with a single robot, and we'll continue to add on robots. And then initially we'll start with maneuver-like skill, and then we can progress from there. Over.
All right, and I think the next one follows on to this question a bit. It's regarding subterranean operations. What is the expected distance and depth?
I'll go ahead. This is Bruce. I'll take another pass on that one. So ideally, it's interesting because as you move through these different environments, you start to incur different, as you move around that wheel that I showed, you're starting to talk more about problems associated with communications down in the hardware section. And so as the robots move deeper into an interior environment, the ability to move that data back out and allow an operator to get a sense of what's going on will require, again, some sort of teaming-like effort so that the robots can pass the information that they're gathering so it can move and then eventually get outside of the cave. And we tried to demonstrate that in the video. But with regards to type and size of caves, certainly larger ones that are smaller initially are the way to go, but eventually we want to get to any environment. And so, as you know, it's beyond cave, right? So you can get into man-made, and you can get into tunneling systems that are, and man-made ones like subway systems. And so some are far more structured, and some are far less structured. And so the concern or the goal would be to continue to move to more complex and unstructured environments.
Okay, so I'm going to roll up a couple questions here. Really, there's a couple that cross over with each other, and we'll break this one into a couple different segments. What types of field environments do you anticipate doing testing in?
So this is Bruce again. I'll start it, but I'm going to pass that one over to Andy. And the reason why we're partnering with the state of Indiana and with Crane is that initially we'd like to do our test environments at Muscatatuck Urban Training Center, which provides a variable set of problems from exterior with dense foliage all the way through to interior multi-story environments, and lastly, tunnels. And so those are the environments we would like to work in. So initially what we'd like to do is to utilize photogrammetry to collect on all of Muscatatuck Urban Training Center, bring that into simulation so we have a more realistic synthetic environment that we can eventually test robots in the actual environment itself, in the physical environment, and then we can do cross-correlation. But over to Andy on additional thoughts.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. The only thing I would, I guess, throw in there and add to that, we expect that as we do this year over year, we will start out, as Bruce mentioned, we will start out a little bit crawl, walk, run, right? So initially it'll probably be not the entire Muscatatuck environment, it'll be a subset of that, and we will probably have specific pieces of the challenge or the environment that we're more focused on. As we move, we will look to expand the complexity and expand the capability of the simulation environment. So all of that will be a work in progress over a series of years. Over.
And I'm sure that we can probably provide more details about Muscatatuck if people want them. You know, if they want a little bit more insight, I'm guessing we can make that available if people request it. I have a couple questions here about budget and how many teams, types of funding, types of contract vehicles. You know, the general questions about what the programmatics of this are going to look like.
Yeah, this is Andy. I'll take a first shot. So I saw one of the questions was referring to like phase 3 and what's that going to look like? And when will the details be released and all those kinds of things. As I kind of showed at the very beginning, all of the policy, strategy, planning guidance has just been going on over the last year. So we are in process to nail down the details of the specifics of what that challenge will be and how we will do it, and how we will end up advertising it, the different contract vehicles we use, etc. So I would expect by probably the end of this fiscal year or early into next fiscal year, that information will be out, and we will begin that advertisement process and initiate that effort. So that's kind of where we're starting. We're again hoping it's a multi-year thing, so we don't intend to just run one of these events. We intend to run probably at least 2 or 3 of these events over a series of 2 or 3 years. So I know that's not super specific, but we don't have all the details of exactly what the contractual details and programmatic details that are associated with that ready to be released yet. Over.
Okay, thank you. So then I have another question that I think I can answer for Ann and I. It says, we are developing new and innovative small form factor computing products developed around AI that take SWaP-C and open systems into consideration. Would like to partner with a software partner for this effort. Can you facilitate it? And the answer is, yeah, absolutely. If you get Ann or I the details on this about your products and what you're looking for, we'll reach out to the network and do our best to make appropriate connections for you, and at least get you engaged in conversations that allow you to hopefully find a valuable partner. So I think that I have picked up all these questions. I know that there might be some issues with people having chat, being able to enter into chat. I got a message on that. I think you can raise your hand, or at least you can notify me verbally, and we'll address any remaining questions that way. I'll give you 30 seconds, a minute here to get on and ask the question, and there's a hand being raised. So I guess we unmute this participant, and or that participant can unmute themselves and ask their question. That's how we'll handle this.
Okay. Hey, Bill, this is Mike Cooper. Hey, Andy, Bruce. So the question I have is, once these white papers are submitted, right, once we kind of analyze our internal capabilities, kind of meet these upcoming needs within the phases, once we submit the white papers, will we be able to have like a iterative conversation with certain elements at Crane or NavSpec Warcom on this, or are we just going to submit the white papers and sit back and wait to hear if there's interest? Over.
All right, thanks, Coop. So good question. And the expectation at this point is you will be able to interact with Crane, potentially with others within SOCOM network as well, as after we get the white papers. The intent of these white papers to some degree is to start building the partnership between government and industry and academia as we move forward. So there will be further efforts that are going on. Some of those are already in process and starting, but so there will be further opportunities as we move forward. The prize challenges and things of that nature as those things come out. But initially what we're attempting to do is start to build the partnership between the government side and industry and academia to understand what the capabilities are out there, what the specific novel concepts and technologies are that are out there, to begin to build that partnership such that we can move into the next stages. Over.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Good copy.
So I have some more filtering in here. I have one that's, it's another programmatic question, but I'm not sure we've explicitly answered it. It says, how are you approaching AI sums initiatives and projects as separate from, but coordinated and integrated with existing and planned programs of record?
So I apologize. I scrolled up to it and I'm rereading it just to make sure I understand. So there are a few artificial intelligence and machine learning types of programs of record out there. Most of those are focused on specific capability sets that have already been identified in terms of the requirements have already been identified. What we're focused on is really more of a future requirement set that is not a program of record yet. Obviously, we will be working with and coordinating with the PEOs, the different program offices that are working on those existing programs of record. But the things that we're going to be doing is probably left in the life cycle here in terms of leftover requirement. So hope that answers the question, and I will defer to Bruce if he wants to add anything.
Yeah, this is Bruce. My understanding of this particular event that IN3 and NavalX Midwest Tech Bridge is hosting is to, is for us to get a sense of what the state of Indiana and neighboring states has to offer. So I think we need to look at this as more of a long ball play, and the goal here is to start gathering people together that have the requisite skills, because what we're finding across industry is that there aren't a lot of performers that are either they have other options or they're not aware how to partner with DoD. So I would like to say that yes, there are other programs that are trending or have a vector towards doing some of this development, but keep in mind this is also an opportunity to start at the ground floor and come over in an environment where you can both start in simulation and then work your way over to real world or realistic environment. So I see it more as an opportunity for people that are in this region of the country to be able to participate and get started, but to better understand what DoD's needs are. But yes, I would say that we're certainly coordinating up the chain of command.
So I think in general, we've covered most of these questions. I have one here that I'm not certain I fully understand. It comes from Recruitability AI, and perhaps we can get that person on audio to explain the gist of their question. It says, can we use this platform to navigate AI ML related services and consulting opportunities? It says about data scientists and machine learning engineers to lead and execute these development projects. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I fully understand that. I don't know if anybody else in the panel does. Maybe somebody could help clarify that.
Yeah, this is Andy. I would just say I had the same thought, Bill. I wasn't sure exactly what the question meant.
Okay, and I just got another one here that I think we can answer. It is about will IN3 or NavalX provide testing drone platforms, or should the provider use their own platforms? So is it preferred for large collaborative long marathon type team or individual labs with sprint-like effort targeting specific behaviors? There's actually quite a bit there. There's about GFE, and then there's a question about the preferred type of development.
Yeah, so this is Andy. I would say our intention at this point in time, our vision for what we're going to do when we do the further challenge, prize challenge type of event, would be to provide a testing drone, and initially it'll be in a simulation environment. So initially we will start with simulation environment, and then when we get to a real physical environment, we would provide the GFE to handle that. The second part of that question, we're okay with collaborative long style marathon teams, but we do want to facilitate individual sprint-like type of efforts targeting specific behaviors and specific artificial intelligence algorithms. Bruce, do you have anything to add?
No, that sounds good, Andy. Thanks.
See, one last question that popped up here. Is this restricted to Indiana companies? And no, this is open to all companies, universities, size. We're really interested in innovation. And I think I do not see any more questions. I'll give everybody one last opportunity to raise their hand or click in and give an audio question. But I think we've covered most everything that's come through the chat. Oh, okay, Valentin, I see that you have your hand up. Click in and ask your question.
Will there be a link to the recorded workshop later on?
Yes, we'll provide a link to this. Are you talking about to this presentation today?
Yep.
Yes. Yep. We'll have we'll work on getting this downloaded, and then we'll probably upload it to, not sure of the platform yet, but it'll go out to everyone who participated today.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I do not see any more. Questions that we haven't answered. Do any of the speakers want to make some concluding comments?
Yeah, this is Andy. I would just wanted to say again, thank you to Ann and the Tech Bridge. Thank you to IN3 and the entire team there and helping facilitate this. Thanks for Dr. Morris for providing the operational perspective and some of the background that he's provided. And thanks again to all the participants. There are a lot of people online. Look forward to working with as many of you who have interest and passion to research and work in this area as we move forward. This is as Bruce kind of mentioned, this is kind of a long ball strategy. This is a journey. We got a long ways to go, but I think we've got a lot of talent within the region that we can apply to this. So looking forward to working with everyone. Over.
Yeah, and I echo that. I mean, the solution is going to come from a variety of different places. I like I said, I guarantee that there's people on the phone who have great ideas and great capabilities that will feed into this. At one point, we had over 140 people listening today, so we're very thankful. The Tech Bridge and IN3 are looking for feedback on what we can do to make these better events. So please just. Ann posted both mine and her emails on here. If you have comments or suggestions, by all means, please reach out to us. If there's team making that you want us to help facilitate, by all means, do that also. The goal is to really make this an open and streamlined process so that Bruce and Andy can get really exciting technology in their hands and down. So, thank you to everyone for taking time today. We look forward to further engagements, and I think this concludes our meeting.